Annihilation of Caste by Dr.B.R.Ambedkar, Part 6. Let me now turn to the socialist. Can the socialist ignore the problem arising out of the social order? The socialists of India, following their fellows in Europe, are seeking to apply the economic interpretation of history to the facts of India. They propound that man is an economic creature, that his activities and aspirations are bound by economic facts, that property is the only source of power. They therefore preach that political and social reforms are but gigantic illusions, and that economic reform by equalization of property must have precedence over every other kind of reform. One may join issue with every one of these premises, on which rests the socialist case for economic reform as having priority over every other kind of reform. One may contend that the economic motive is not the only motive by which man is actuated, that economic power is the only kind of power no student of human society can accept, that the social status of an individual by itself often becomes a source of power and authority is made clear by the sway which the Mahatmas have held over the common man. Why do millionaires in India obey penniless sadhus and fakirs? Why do millions of paupers in India sell their trifling trinkets which constitute their only wealth and go to Benares or Mecca? That religion is the source of power is illustrated by the history of India, where the priest holds sway over the common man, often greater than that of the magistrate, and where everything, even such things as strikes and elections, so easily takes a religious turn and can easily be given a religious twist. Take the case of the plebeians of Rome as a further illustration of the power of religion over man. It throws great light on this point. The plebeians had fought for a share in the supreme executive under the Roman Republic and had secured the appointment of a plebeian consul elected by a separate electorate constituted by the Comitia Centuriata, which was an assembly of plebeians. They wanted a consul of their own because they felt that the patrician consuls used to discriminate against the plebeians in carrying on the administration. They had apparently obtained a great gain because under the Republican Constitution of Rome, one consul had the power of vetoing an act of the other consul. But did they in fact gain anything? The answer to this question must be in the negative. The plebeians never could get a plebeian consul who could be said to be a strong man and who could act independently of the patrician consul. In the ordinary course of things, the plebeians should have got a plebeian consul, a view of the fact that his election was to be by a separate electorate of plebeians. The question is, why did they fail in getting a plebeian to officiate as their consul? The answer to this question reveals the dominion which religion exercises over the minds of men. It was an accepted creed of the whole Roman populace that no official could enter upon the duties of his office unless the oracle of Delphi declared that he was acceptable to the goddess. The priests who were in charge of the temple of the goddess of Delphi were all patricians. Whenever, therefore, the plebeians elected a consul, he was known to be a strong party man and opposed to the patricians or quote-unquote communal. To use the term that is current in India, the oracle invariably declared that he was not acceptable to the goddess. This is how the plebeians were cheated out of their rights. But what is worthy of note is that the plebeians permitted themselves to be thus cheated because they too, like the patricians, held firmly the belief that the approval of the goddess was a condition precedent to the taking charge of an official of his duties, and that election by the people was not enough. If the plebeians had contended that election was enough and that the approval of the goddess was not necessary, they would have derived the fullest benefit from the political right which they had obtained. But they did not. They agreed to elect another, less suitable to themselves but more suitable to the goddess, which in fact meant more amenable to the patricians. Rather than give up religion, the plebeians gave up the material gain for which they had fought so hard. Does this not show that religion can be a source of power as great as money, if not greater?